Imagine fighting a war in a deep, dangerous jungle for 29 years, only to find out that the war had actually ended 3 decades ago. This is the insane true story of Hiroo Onoda. World War II officially ended in 1945, but Onoda simply refused to believe his country had surrendered. For him, time stood still. People tried everything to bring him back. They dropped family photos from planes, scattered newspapers across the jungle, and even played recordings of his brother's voice over loudspeakers. But Onoda didn't budge. He was convinced it was all a giant trap. So, why did this man throw away 29 years of his life? Let's dive straight into the story.
Hiroo Onoda was born in 1922 in a small town called Kainan, Japan. He grew up in a very disciplined family that valued ancient samurai traditions and strict obedience. His childhood was shaped by a sense of duty, and eventually he started working for a Japanese trading company in China at a young age. But in 1942, as World War II intensified and the empire needed more men, he was drafted into the army. Now, Onoda wasn't your average soldier who was sent to the front lines with a bayonet. His intelligence and sharp instincts were quickly noticed. He was sent to the Nakano School, an elite training center for intelligence officers. This was a secret institution where soldiers were taught the dark arts of guerrilla warfare, how to go undercover, how to gather secret intelligence, and, most importantly, how to survive alone in the most brutal conditions imaginable. Unlike other soldiers who were taught to die for the emperor, Onoda was taught that his life was a weapon that must be preserved at all costs. In December 1945, Onoda was deployed to Lubang Island in the Philippines. It was a small but strategic spot, and his mission was to sabotage the enemy's efforts and hold the island until the main Japanese army returned. Before he left, his commanding officer, Major Taniguchi, gave him an order that would change his life forever and echo in his mind for decades. Taniguchi told him, "You must stay alive. Whatever happens, you are forbidden to take your own life. It might take 3 years, it might take 5, but we will come back for you. Until I personally come and tell you to stop, you keep fighting and gathering intel." Onoda took those words as the absolute truth. To him, this wasn't just a military order, it was a sacred vow. By February 1945, American forces launched a massive attack on Lubang. The Japanese troops were outnumbered, outgunned, and falling into chaos. Realizing they couldn't hold the beach against the heavy artillery, Onoda took 3 other soldiers and retreated deep into the jagged mountains and thick, humid jungles. His team consisted of Corporal Shimada, Private Kozuka, and Private Akatsu. They lived like ghosts in the shadows, watching the Americans from the high peaks and launching hit-and-run attacks whenever they saw an opening, believing they were the last line of defense for their empire. In August 1945, the U.S. dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Japan's surrender was officially signed. But that news never reached Onoda in the thick, suffocating jungle of Lubang. In October 1945, they found a leaflet on the ground that said, "The war ended on August 15th. Come down from the mountains." Onoda and his men looked at each other and laughed. Their training at the Nakano School had taught them to be suspicious of everything. They thought it was a clever American trick, a way to lure them out of hiding. They believed Japan could never lose, and if the war were really over, their commander would have sent a secret signal they were trained to recognize. So they tossed the flyer aside and moved deeper into the woods. That was the start of a 29-year survival nightmare. Their life was beyond brutal and hard to imagine for a modern person. They had no shelter, often sleeping in damp caves or makeshift huts made of palm leaves. The Philippine heat was suffocating, and the long rainy season turned the jungle floor into a muddy mess where their skin would begin to rot from the moisture. The jungle was crawling with poisonous snakes and swarming with thousands of mosquitoes. Every single day was a battle for food. They lived on wild bananas and coconuts. When they got desperate and needed protein, they'd sneak into local villages at night, steal a cow under the cover of darkness, butcher it in total silence, and dry the meat in the sun so it would last for months. Their clothes literally rotted off their backs due to the humidity and sweat. Onoda had to become a craftsman to survive. He made thread from plant fibers and used sharp thorns as needles to stitch his decaying uniform back together. They were always on high alert, watching the villages below 24/7, waiting for a war that had already ended for the rest of the world. They were frozen in time while the world outside moved on. By 1949, Private Akatsu couldn't take it anymore. The isolation and the constant fear broke him mentally. He slipped away one night to surrender to the Philippine police. Onoda was convinced Akatsu had been captured and brainwashed by the enemy. Even when Akatsu's own handwritten letters were dropped over the island in 1950, Onoda thought it was a fake, the ultimate propaganda of the 1950s. He believed the enemy was using advanced psychological tactics to break his will. In 1972, Corporal Shimada was killed in a shootout with local troops on the beach. Now only Onoda and Private Kozuka were left. They stayed side by side, two lonely souls in a green hell for another 18 years. Every year they'd light signal fires on the mountains, hoping the Japanese Navy would come to their rescue. They had no idea, while they were hiding, people had walked on the moon, computers were being built, and Japan had become an economic superpower. But their world was stuck in 1945. In 1952, more leaflets were dropped, this time with actual photos of Onoda's family. He recognized his brother and his parents, but again his suspicious mind took over. He thought the Americans had kidnapped his family and forced them to pose for the photos. He called it high-level propaganda. He refused to believe that his country had moved on without him. In 1972, while trying to burn a local rice storage, thinking it was enemy supplies meant for an upcoming invasion, Kozuka was shot and killed by police. Hiro Onoda was now completely alone. He had no friends left, no one to talk to, and no one to share his burden. He was just an old soldier in a tattered, hand-stitched uniform, still waiting for his orders. News of Kozuka's death shocked the world. People in Japan couldn't believe a soldier was still fighting in the Philippines 30 decades after the war. The government tried to find him, but Onoda was a master of evasion and didn't trust anyone who approached him. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying this story, it shows you love these incredible survival tales. We share crazy, true-life documentaries like this all the time. So do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the next one. In 1974, a young Japanese explorer named Norio Suzuki decided he was going to do what the government couldn't. Suzuki was a bit of a nomad, a hippie who wanted to see the world. He went to Labang, set up a small camp in the jungle, and started calling out Onoda's name into the trees. 4 days later, Onoda suddenly emerged from the thick brush, pointing a rifle at him with a finger on the trigger. Instead of panicking, Suzuki smiled and told him about the modern world. He explained that the war was a distant memory and that Japan was now a peaceful global tech giant. Onoda listened for hours, but his military discipline was unbreakable. He told Suzuki, "I am a soldier. I will only surrender if my commander personally comes back and orders me to stand down." Suzuki flew back to Japan and tracked down Major Taniguchi. The major was now an old man in his late 70s, running a small bookstore and living a quiet life. Suzuki told him the incredible news, and the Japanese government quickly arranged for Taniguchi to fly to Labang. On March 9, 1974, in a moment that feels like something out of a movie, Onoda walked out of the jungle in his worn-out but perfectly kept uniform. He was carrying his sharp samurai sword and his rifle, which he had cleaned every single day for 29 years. He stood at attention and saluted his old major. With a heavy heart and tears in his eyes, Taniguchi read the official surrender orders from 1945 and officially relieved Onoda of his duties. After 29 years and 5 months, Hiroo Onoda finally laid down his weapons. He broke down in tears, finally realizing that he had spent his entire youth, his best years, and lost his friends fighting for a war that had ended decades ago. The Philippine president Ferdinand Marcos was so moved by Onoda's incredible loyalty and patriotism that he gave him a full imperial pardon for the attacks on the villagers over the years. Onoda was allowed to return to Japan as a free man and a living legend. When Onoda landed in Japan, he was greeted by thousands of people and flashing cameras. But the Japan he returned to wasn't the Japan he remembered. He left a country of discipline, sacrifice, and tradition, and he came back to a world of neon lights, consumerism, and skyscrapers. He felt like an alien who had landed on another planet. He couldn't handle the modern stress and the loss of the old Japanese spirit. So, in 1975, he moved to Brazil to start a cattle ranch. He eventually got married and lived a peaceful life under the wide open skies. In 1984, he returned to Japan and opened the Onoda Nature School, where he taught children the survival skills he had learned in the jungle, how to be strong, how to find food in nature, and how to never give up. In 1996, he even went back to Labang Island. He donated $10,000 to the local school as a way to apologize for his past actions. The villagers, seeing the old man's sincerity, incredibly forgave him. Hiroo Onoda passed away in Tokyo in 2014 at the age of 91. His life is a powerful reminder of how far a person's will and belief can go. Whether you call it loyalty or obsession, Onoda proved that a soldier's duty can sometimes be stronger than time itself. He was a man who never learned how to give up, living a life that was both tragic and legendary. His 29-year war remains one of the most incredible chapters in human history. So, what do you think? Was Onoda a hero of loyalty or a victim of his own mind? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, hit the like button. If not, you know what to do. We've got plenty of other survival stories and mind-blowing documentaries on this channel. If you're into cinematic, real-life stories that you won't find anywhere else, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.